All right, good afternoon. Welcome, and we wanted to provide an update on some of the things that we've done here at JCPS over the weekend, moving into this week, and some of the things that we're working on for future. So first of all, I think it's important to note and wanted to share that today we served about 5,500 meals here in JCPS, over 5,500 meals, about 2,800 for breakfast and close to that same number for lunch. And I think it says a lot about the need of our kids right now that we serve that many meals. The first day of summer, we are usually in the ballpark of 1,000 for breakfast, 1,000 for lunch. But we are now serving breakfast and lunch at 35 of our sites across the county, and I think it just really demonstrates the needs of our kids right now that on the first day, we served over 5,500 meals. Can't thank enough all of those people in our nutrition services that are working on this to provide meals and services for our kids. It's so important. And I really think it talks a lot about what we're doing in JCPS here. This is the first time as many organizations are working to figure out ways to move forward. We're doing the same thing. But without a doubt, health and safety, once again, is first and foremost for our kids and our students, and providing them the opportunities for learning that we're really working to enhance, but most importantly, the services that our kids need so often. I also want to take the time to thank our custodians who I know are working so hard in buildings right now to clean our buildings top to bottom so that whenever our students and staff do return to school, they will be ready. And it will be completely clean. So thanks to all of our custodians and our maintenance teams who are out there working so hard right now to make sure that our buildings are safe. So we have a few announcements, some of our next steps that we're working on right now. Many of these are brand new ones for us, first time ever. So first of all, beginning today, really at the close of this press conference, all of our central office buildings will be closed. We are taking the advice, obviously, of the governor in many ways and health officials that we don't want people coming in and out of buildings at this time, so our central office buildings will be closed. However, it is important to note for families and for staff, in order to get help, once again, our hotline number will be answered. That's 313-HELP. I'll repeat that again, 313-HELP. So if any family needs assistance from JCPS, any employee needs assistance, between the hours of 7:30 and 5 p.m. Instead of coming to one of the schools or the buildings, please make sure you call 313-HELP, and we will get you connected to the service that you need. Secondly, for the first time that we've ever done this, the vast majority of our employees whose job allows them to do this will be telecommuting from this point forward. So we, over the weekend, had employees work through a process, all of those who had the ability to do their job from their home, as most public and private businesses are doing at this time. They will be telecommuting from this point forward. Clearly, we will have some essential personnel who will still be on staff. Many of those include in our operations, maintenance, custodial, and on our leadership team, but we're taking every opportunity to allow our employees to telecommute moving forward until we are through this. We've set up a lot of systems and processes to make sure that is happening effectively. But once again, this is the first time that we've implemented this, and so acting quickly, as we found out that this was going to be a recommendation on Friday, by Monday at noon, we were having our employees fill out the application for telecommuting, giving devices to those employees who might need it to work from home, and we have implemented that at this time. We're also working on enhancing our instructional supports for kids. So I can't say enough about how hard our staff in IT and teaching and learning work to provide these optional, I'll repeat that, these optional learning experiences for our students over these 9 days that they will be out and even through spring break. And so that students can have the opportunity, families, to enhance learning through their backpack, and many of the resources that are available to them in this project-based learning. But we also know, we know that there is a strong possibility that being out of school will last much longer than April 6th. I think we're looking at that possibility now, especially from CDC guidance that came out over the weekend. So we are preparing for that right now and really thinking about ways to enhance that. We have submitted an application for NTI days with KDE. It was approved at this time, so our non-traditional instructional days, that was approved. We will have to have a board meeting this week for our board to approve that. We will be asking our board to do that meeting virtually. You will have more information on that. That will most likely occur on Thursday evening, but we will have that to approve our non-traditional instructional days. As I said last week, I do have a lot of concern about NTI days, especially with equity, and how we ensure that all of our students have access to devices and the internet in order to have effective learning with non-traditional instructional days. Clearly, if we are serving 5,500 meals to our students, that's going to be an issue. But we do want to make sure that if we are out for a significant period of time, that we are going to provide instructional supports, enhanced instructional supports over what we're providing now, more interaction with teachers, more instruction that could happen online, so we're figuring out ways to do that. We've put a team in place, a work team in place that's working, led by Dr. Coleman, who's working on that plan right now. Secondly, we've put a work team together to figure out how we can get devices to our kids. So Chromebooks and other types of devices that we can get to our students. That's no easy task, but we have a work team together so that if this extends beyond spring break, that we will be able to get devices to students who need those devices. However, I will say this, without internet or Wi-Fi access for students, those Chromebooks become useless. So we are working and encouraging partners that provide internet access in our community to find ways to provide them to students who don't have traditional internet access in their home, and that could be thousands of students within JCPS. So if we truly want to provide that type of instruction for our students and use NTI days effectively, students are going to have devices and they're going to have internet access. So I would really challenge our community. We need to step up and see how we can meet the needs of our students in that way. Finally, we know we have a good number of our employees, mostly in the areas of subbing, so whether that's substitute teachers or substitute bus drivers who might not be getting paid right now at this time because they are paid based on when they work a day. I've had several reach out to me, and we want them to know we are working on a plan at this time where we will provide some work opportunities for them. There's some possibility around sub-custodial staff and other ways that we're looking at, that we will have a plan in the next 48 hours that will provide them some opportunities to have an income by working for us on a daily basis, because we know that many of our employees, like many employees across the state and the nation right now, might be struggling. So as you can see, we're working on a lot right now. We've got a lot of moving parts. This, just like anybody else, this changes day to day. We want our families to know we appreciate your support. We are continuing to work hard to provide two things, most importantly, to our students. Number one is the services they need in order to be successful, those wraparound services, especially around meals. So if any of our students need a free meal, remember breakfast and lunch, go to our website. There's 35 locations, including a few mobile locations where students can get those meals. I think that's so important. My guess is we'll see those numbers rise in the days to come. And then secondly, around instructional support, we're going to continue to develop, enhance those instructional supports so that if we are out well beyond spring break, we can access those non-traditional instructional days if needed. Once again, I wanted to right now give an update of where we are on the last day of school so there's no confusion. I believe at my last press conference I misspoke and said June 11th. Currently, with the 9 days that we, over these 2 weeks, that we will not be in session, If we were not to miss any more, and I'll say if, that's a big if, obviously, our final day would be June 4th. That's correct, isn't it? What's that? If we forgive the 4 days. So, excuse me. We will be requesting our board to forgive 4 days because JCPS does have additional days of instruction beyond what the state requires. So as of now, it is June 10th, but if our board forgives those 4 days, our final day of school would be June 4th. We will continue to see what happens in the legislature as we move forward, if there's any relief at this time. But as of right now, it's June 10th. If our board forgives those 4 days, which I believe they will, it would be June 4th. But obviously, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of concern that this will extend beyond spring break. We'll see how that goes. Once again, I just want to reiterate for our families, any questions, concerns, any assistance we can provide, that number is 313-HELP. Please make sure to call and not visit schools or central office. Call first between 7:30 a.m. and 5 p.m., 313-HELP, in order to get assistance that you may need. So at this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Is it a real possibility that school could be out for the remainder of the year? Is that something you guys are possibly preparing for?
I mean, I can't say how strong of a possibility that is. I mean, clearly, I think that's been talked about across many media outlets. So the CDC guideline right now for gatherings, which they've exempted schools, but I think it's going to be difficult for schools to wrestle with. Do we go back if the CDC is recommending 8 weeks away? So 8 weeks for us would be May 11th, I believe is ballpark, that week right in there, if you can, and that includes that spring break week. I think there's a concern in there that that's a possibility. I'm hoping that's not the case, but clearly 8 weeks away could get us close to that.
If you do come back the week of April 6th, do you think that everything we're going through right now is enough reason to cancel K-Prep?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm real concerned. If we came back April 6th, then I'm not saying, I would assume that it would go on as planned at that point, being we would be 9 days away. If it extends well beyond that time, I have a real concern about whether that would be appropriate or fair for students or schools, clearly based on how many days. So if we played out the 8 weeks that the CDC recommends, and it was May 11th, that is actually, I believe, the scheduled week right now for K-Prep. Yeah, that's a real concern of mine when we talk about whether that would be appropriate or fair for students.
Have you guys discussed plans with graduations?
Yeah, I mean, these are, I know clearly on people's minds, and, my heart goes out to our seniors, our graduating seniors. We talk a lot about athletes, seasons canceled and things like that. But I mean, here we are, the class of 2020, in the heart of what is probably the favorite time for most kids in their high school career, being the last 6, 8, 10 weeks when they have experiences like prom and graduation and senior activities. So right now, my heart goes out to our seniors. Being a high school principal, I know how much it means to them. But graduation is such an important thing. So I know there's talk in legislation. Right now, currently, in legislation, we cannot hold graduations until till school concludes officially. So 2/20 on the last day of school, 2/21 would be the first time we're statutorily allowed to have a graduation. If there is relief from that, we may be able, in statute, and the legislature takes that up, we may be able to graduate before the end of school. Because I know a lot of people are making plans, but right now our graduation plan has been approved. To change that, we would have to bring it back to the board. So we're going to see what happens with that and then get this information to our families as quick as possible. That's something we're talking about that, I think all school districts are wrestling with that right now. If we are out for an extended period of time, what does that mean for promotion from one grade to the next, and then most importantly, graduation? So I don't have an answer to that yet. It is one of my concerns, clearly, around NTI days as well. If a student doesn't have access to technology, doesn't have access to a device and Wi-Fi, how is that going to impact their ability to be promoted, to graduate, final grades? All those things are most important. So that's why we're fairly tentative on what we're doing with NTI and making sure we take those right steps. I think most importantly, we've got to make sure we support our kids. We want to make sure they learn, grow, achieve, graduate, transition ready, all of those things. But supporting our kids is first and foremost, and we'll continue to do that.
So are kids going to get, are you concerned that kids aren't going to get that quality education? Choice boards are one thing, but actual classroom instruction obviously is another thing. And there's been a lot of
No doubt.
the quality of the diploma that we give
Yeah.
to kids here. I mean, what is this program going to do to that?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's a nationwide issue. I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the numbers. I don't know if any major city is in session right now. I know New York City, with over 1 million students, I believe, canceled this morning. So this is a clear issue that we all deal with. And I'm a big believer in instructional minutes are so important. That's why we focus on student attendance, summer programs, all of these things, even talking into pushing back the start of school. That's really focused around maximizing student instructional minutes. So there is no doubt, students being with a teacher matters. The more minutes of students with a teacher, that matters. And this is going to have an impact. So, we're going to look very intensely on how we can mitigate that in the future whenever we get back, whether that be additional summer programs. But, our graduating seniors, that's going to be a challenge for us.
Can you clarify for the Chromebooks, does that require purchasing new devices?
It could. I mean, we're looking right now, I think a challenge for us is how many Chromebooks are out there that can be, if you purchase them, how quickly can you get them? All of that stuff that goes into, there's districts all around the nation right now clamoring to get their hands on Chromebooks. Mostly, I think it will be looking at the ones that we currently have across our entire district and finding ways to get them to students. And this would be something brand new for us, and obviously, giving out a Chromebook, I mean, we worry about getting that back when all this is over. But I think we've got to take big steps to support our kids, and if that's something we're willing to risk.
Obviously, the mayor had a COVID-19 test, and you've been in interaction with him a lot. I mean, just personally, on a personal level, how real is that for you? Were you in contact with the health department about whether you should be tested? Or what with you when you found out that the mayor could have been exposed, and you've been interacting with him a lot this week?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in press conferences, so have you. And so I know we've been at at least two of them, and I've been at 3. But, yes, we were in contact with the health department to ensure. But, I mean, I think that's probably hundreds of people. But from the very beginning of, we did contact the health department, and I was very pleased to see recently that was a negative test of the mayor. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we've been hearing about is how child care is going to could be in the coming weeks so essential for healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Has the district had any conversations with city officials or hospitals about possibly providing that service specifically for those essential workers?
We have not had have those conversations and support the community in any way we can, but they haven't happened yet. All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.